Hello everyone, my name is Tolga Güler. I'm working as Canada Counter Manager and Technical Consultant for Metrology Software. I want to introduce you to some sophisticated features of eFlow, like recurring DB scan, DB update, web service integration, and the combination of all these components with the designer into a small process. Before we jump to the process designer, I want to show you what I'm planning to do today. I want to develop a customer communications system for external customers of my organization, so the customer will send their messages with help of a web form or web application, and it will be stored on a shared data storage on a SQL database, or specifically on a SQL database table, and then eFlow will scan this data table for incoming new messages and retrieve the messages with the new status, and then forward it to related user group, and the user group will take action and notify the customer, and then finish the process with according actions. For the web application, I developed a small web application in Visual Studio. It provides a web service to imitate this web form. Let's see how it looks like. It has two methods. The one is send your message. The customers outside the company, they will use this method to send their message, and the other one is just for updating the message status. And let's use the send your message method. I need to provide an email. This is my email. The subject will be something like a text, anything you can imagine of. I have a problem, message body, I really have a problem, and message type. Let's say we have three different types of messages: complaint, information, and let's say support request, and this one is complaint. And if I click on invoke, then the message will be delivered onto our database, and the message ID has been created, as you can see here, and we got the return message. So let's go to database and go to eFlow process designer and start designing a process for us. I'm gonna call my process customer communication management, and then, as you would know, there are multiple components to start up a process, like manual DB scan or recurring DB scan, which I'm going to use right now. Recurring DB scan, I drag and drop and make a double click on it, and as you can see, I can type a SQL command and select the data source and then make the data match. Before we keep going, I'm gonna define some data fields here. Let's say message ID, let's say message subject, I'm gonna message body, what else, message date, of course channel code, and then I'm not going to define a new field for message status. Message type, and message date, it should be date, and message body should be memo because it can get big. Same thing for subject, let's make it 200. And what else? Now sender's email, and let's make it a bit more than 100. Let's make it 115 case he has multiple long names. So the recurring DB scan, let's rename it scan DB for new messages. Select our data source. This is my data source, and select the occurrence. This is still Turkish, but that's just because I'm using an old version. In the recent version it has been changed to English. So every single minute my DB scan will execute the SQL command I'm going to type here. So I'm not going to type it per hand, so I have it here. I'm going to get this command and put it here. So I have my necessary fields and all the messages with this status new. So let's go to data match tab, and it's smart enough to list here the fields inside the query in the result set. So I'm gonna match them with my fields: message ID to ID, message subject to subject, message body to body, email to sender email, entry date to message date, channel date to channel code, status code to status, message type to message type. Oh, it's been massage type. Let's change it. Not massage, it should be message type. Alright, go to the DB scan. Message type should be message type. Yes. So I save it, and this is how my process will be started. And what I'm going to do is, after I retrieve the new messages from the database, so I will start a process, and then I have to update the status of the message because it will scan currently on new messages, and if I don't update I will get a new process every single minute for already read record. So let's go to DB update DB, and as I showed you before, we have another web service method to update the message status, but we will use it later. There are two options. I can directly update the database here, which is quite easier for now for that purpose, and update DB, update message status, data source will be the same thing, and I'm gonna copy this long table name, don't wanna type it, update this, set status code is, let's say, in progress, and where the message ID is equal to, I go to command window here, and I have all the fields in my eFlow. So message ID is the ID of the message, of course. The name speaks for itself, so I say okay, and then I draw an arrow from the first scan DB to update message. And what else can we do? We can update the status in the eFlow dataset as well. Set message status on eFlow. This is the status field. Let's do the same thing here too. And then what else can we do? We can send a notification email to the customer, and let's go send email and send notification, send notification to customer. Mail account is my email again. How do I get this email in this Dropbox? This is something I want to show you. I go to eFlow, under administration menu I get company list. As you can see, I have two companies. I'm logged in Netology. I go to edit, and under email tab, I have this. I can add as much as I want here, so I can later choose on eFlow which mail account I'm going to use. The sender is me, or any name you want. To add from transaction data, sender email, I'm going to use this email address, and the subject will be your message with reference ID, let's say message ID, and content, your message has been received and being processed. Okay, that's the message I'm going to send the customer. After that, we can set a task form here. Let's go to that one, and I'm gonna give the user who is reading this message for the first time the option to cancel it, and the terminate component will end up the process. So I'm going to double click on this button. It will be a red button, and then button name will be cancel, and it will take over the mandatory field control, which seems to be Turkish here, this text, but as I said, the recent version has everything in English. So I say okay, and I go back to my task form. Let's say description, new incoming customer message, and the subject will be, let's say, message ID, and subject, we can see the subject here, and we will assign it to administrator to me so I can see it directly. So what do I want to see here? Let's see the message, let's see the status, subject, message body, message date, channel code, message type, and sender email. Actually everything except the priority, because I'm not dealing with the priority right now. I say okay, and this is how it's going to be. dbScan will start the process, and then the message status will be updated on the database, then status will be updated on eFlow to in progress. We will send a notification email to customer, and then the task form will be shown, and if the user wants, it can cancel. But I want to add a new field here for cancel reason, and this will be a string. Let's keep it that way, and maybe you want to add some more text here, make it bigger. And if he clicks on cancel in the first step, I want it to be mandatory to sorry, we need to first add to the task form. Cancel reason will be here. So if you click on cancel, then it will be mandatory to enter a cancel reason here. So the button take over the mandatory field control, and then we'll see how it's gonna be. I'm gonna save the process and then activate it. And in order to make a test, we will go to eFlow task pool and see if our message is being processed. So let's go back to eFlow task pool and see what was going on. I'm expecting to see a new instance of my new process. I click on task list, and I think customer communication management with the message ID, yes, that's it. And when I click on run, I need to see the message details right here. So if I click on cancel, then I will cancel the process, but it should be mandatory to enter a cancel reason. So I'm going to test it, cancel, and it says this field is required. Perfect. Another thing, I must have received an email from eFlow with notification, or yes, your message with reference ID. That's what I was expecting too. And here's the text I typed in. Good. Let's go back. So we need some more actions here, and let's go into some more details. So if the user cancels the process, it will be cancelled, but if it's something we need to take seriously, then it should be forwarded to a related user group or user. So I'm gonna define some user groups. I go to administration on eFlow, to groups and roles, and click on new. The group name, complaints group, I'm gonna save it. Then new support group, I'm gonna save it too. Another one with information group, save, and we're gonna add some members. Complaints group, I'm gonna add admin and Abram into that group, and then info group, I'm gonna add Roger and admin into that group, and for support, admin again and Smith. So we have 3 groups for each message types, so it will be forwarded to related group. I'm back into my designer. I'm gonna make a decision tree here, a very simple one by the way, and I have here I cannot see where are you. Decision, yes, right here. I drag and drop a decision component here, message forwarding number 1, and my expression will be, what is my message type? I'm gonna check that. Message type is equal to complaint. Sorry. Gonna use the English keyboard. Complaint. Then I will forward it to a task form, and I need a second decision. So message forwarding number 2. I'm gonna check the message type again for, let's say, support, and I will have 3 task forms for each type of message. So I'm gonna make some space here so we don't get too tight there, and button name will be forward, and it should be done something green. I'm gonna copy the color, but I'll do it later. Okay, so let's put a task form. Actually, it's easier to copy this one, and it is a new incoming complaint, and I'm not going to change the subject, and data elements are already there. I'm not going to put anything else here. So if it's a complaint, then it will move to complete task form. If not, then we'll go to the next step in the decision tree, and then I copy it one more time. If it is a support message, then it will go to support task form. Let's make it incoming support request, and I forgot, task will be assigned to, did I save it? I don't remember. Yes, be here. So I have to save it. After I save, I can see the new groups here. It will be complaint group, and then it will be here support group. So in order to see the new groups, I have to save my process, and I'm gonna copy it after naming, of course, support task form, and then this will be my last new incoming information request, and this will be then assigned to information group, this with same data elements. Well, we'll see. If yes, go to complaints group. If it's a support, go to support, and if it's a information request, then go to information group. And I save it and activate it. So what will happen then? Start it, update it again, send notification, and come to the first task form. The user will read it, cancel it or forward it right here. After forwarding, a decision will be decision tree will be executed. After the execution, the related user group will receive the process instance. Before I go to eFlow task pool, I'm going to start another process by sending a message. I'm going to send a support request. It will be a support message, and let's invoke it. Yeah, the second message is now a support message. I go back to my eFlow task pool, and the first one is here, second one will be processed. In short, I go into this one and it's in progress. I have a problem, really have a problem, and I'm gonna forward it. Let's see what's gonna happen. And it's been assigned to complaints group. So the complaints group got it, and let's get into this process, show the workflow, and actually we are here, and it's a snapshot of the process. It's actually same picture like the designer. You can see where you are. If you go to task list, finally the second support message is here, new incoming customer message and new support requests. Let's get into it, and if we forward it, it's been assigned to support. When I run it, I'm administrator, but if I run it, it will be run as a member of the support team. We will see admin in the task pool as assigned user, but I'm a member of support group. That's why. So let's go back to designer and add some new features. On designer, I'm gonna add a new field, which is then action. And it will be then a drop down, and then we will have some actions like reject, say refund, and let's say feedback. Okay, whoever is processing this request will take an action, and we will notify the customer. Message to customer, it will be a memo, and we will use whatever the user is typing into this field as the message sending to customer. So what am I gonna do now is we'll have an send email here, which will be then the same thing. Doesn't matter, it will be again from transaction data, sender email. I'm gonna use that, and the subject will be your message ID, feedback for your message reference, and the text will be blah blah blah, whatever you want to say. Okay, but when am I going to send this message? Well, what is the reason I'm sending this message? Sending message requires that the user has entered a message, filled up the message customer field. So I'm gonna put the action and message to customer fields on my task forms, and I'm gonna make a decision. And they will all land on that decision, and the decision will be check email text if the message to customer field contains any kind of text, then we will send an email. Alright, if no means there's a text here, and we will send the message. And what will happen then? What will happen is, I'm gonna make some space here, it's getting tight. I'm gonna copy the color code of this button so we have the same green everywhere. Sorry, I didn't copy properly, I guess. Gonna take it. Let's make it okay. The text, sorry. Before we forget, I'm gonna make this 2, and we will make the action field here mandatory, and everything else should be actually here read only, except message to customer. The same thing here. So, oh, sorry, I made it. I think I made it mandatory instead of read only. Action will be mandatory, but the rest will be okay, read only. That's cool. I'm not gonna deal with the rest. So what is the decision? Check email text, and then if there's a text, send an email, and then after sending email, or if there's no text without sending email, I'm gonna update the message status. This time I'm gonna use the web service, and I drag and drop the web service component here. I make a double click on it, and what I need to provide is the address of the web service, which is right here. When I go back, that's my web service address. It could be an internet web service or wherever it is. You just need to know the URI of this web service. So I click on discover. Hopefully I see the service, yes, and update communication status. Update communication status is returning something, but I'm not interested in the return value, so I'll keep it one way. If I need to do something with the returning value, I can make it two-way and store it in one of the fields, but I'll keep it in one way. So I need to provide parameters for this web service method, and the ID is the unique message ID. I'm lucky I got it, and the status code is my status. So what is my status right now? My status is right now in progress. So what am I doing here? I'm sending my message ID and in progress status code to web service, and it will update the database, which means I need to do something before going to web service. It will be a calculate. I have it here. I just copy and then paste, and then we will do it like finished. And after sending the email, I will go to calculate and set the message status, and if there's no text for the email entered, then I'll go directly to status update. No, I think it's too tight here. Why am I not able to do it? Okay, now we got it. And from this part, I mean this action, I'm going to web service update, and after the web service update, actually I'm gonna terminate it. And here I'm gonna put another update and copy and paste, and this will be then cancelled if the user takes cancel action. So I'm gonna redirect it to update, and we'll move it to web service, and then the termination will occur. What did I change here? I changed in the first task form, if the user cancels the process status will be updated to cancelled, and then we call the web service cancels, updates the database, and then goes to terminate. The same thing, similar thing will happen here before going to notification. After going to notification, we will update the status and then call the web service, update the database, and terminate the flow. And I think I can save it, then I can activate it, and then go back to task form. So I go to my task list and see I have my OK button. When I click this, I need to take an action. Let's say feedback and message to customer. Here is my message to you, and I click on OK, and the process is gone. So same thing we'll do here, and I will reject this support request and OK. So they are gone. Let's go to database and check the status of our messages, and as you can see, the web service executed the database update and their status code is finished according to our design. Well, as you have seen, the integration options for eFlow are quite easy and powerful and flexible, as long as the third party is providing XML legacy web services or REST services, or we can obtain a direct database access on the third party database. We can do actually whatever we want, and we are almost unlimited. Another example would be using the returning value from the web service, and maybe some more complicated example would be using an entity and extracting some data from that entity and use it in eFlow Process Designer. But that would be a subject to a new workshop, I guess. We have seen enough today, and you have some idea and inspiration how to use eFlow with external applications. I hope you enjoyed the workshop, and thank you for watching this video.